Now, once you made that decision, you weren't alone in trying to implement it by yourself, right? You had partners that helped.
It might not have been impossible, but it would have been close for us to implement all of this on our own, much less do it really well and do it in a way that is designed to be able to handle the kind of the scope and the needs and the custom way that we're doing some of this. And so we've had two fantastic partners, both Vin Technology and Act 2 on the accounting side, to help us implement kind of that two-way highway between Salesforce and Sage Intacct, and to get ourselves set up really well on the Sage Intacct platform.
Yeah. Can you give me sort of a behind-the-scenes look of what it was like in these meetings and planning process through implementation?
Sure. One of the things that we knew going into those meetings was like, here's all the things that broke. Like, here's the problems.
Right.
Here's, we had a thorough list of all the things that we did not like.
So you had a good starting point.
Absolutely. So I think that was, even though it was really painful, that was actually like really helpful for us, because we were in this spot where we knew very acutely like what the problems were, and we were able to articulate those really well to our implementation partners. And I think that's where kind of doing that on the front end, that hard work of saying, here's all the things we know that we don't like, here's the things that we're trying to move to, and here's what we'd like to see, and just that kind of planning process and determining all those different factors. We spent a couple of months internally before we ever even started really looking for, we spent a lot of time evaluating platforms, and then we spent a lot of time evaluating partners. And I think that time ended up being really well spent.
Yeah. But as far as these projects go, you were able to get up and running pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that actually surprised me the most from some of my previous experience. A platform change like this would take, 6 months, 12 months, in some instances, maybe you're talking about, 18 months or 2 years, depending upon what all it's got to be, from a planning perspective, what you have to account for and all that kind of stuff. And both the platforms, Salesforce and Sage Intacct, and then the partners with the expertise that Vin Technology brought to the table and that Act 2 brought to the table, and the way that they understand how to make all of this work, we turned the platform on in production in 5 months.
Wow.
So from beginning to, design, conceptual things, all the way through to implementation, it only took us 5 months to turn it all around.
It's incredible. It's so quick. What is the full scope of how Preemptive Love Coalition is using Sage Intacct?
Man, today, the scope of what we're doing is it serves as our, accounting baseline. It's where we keep record of all the financial ins and outs and all of the different projects and all of those kinds of things. One of the things that I'm most excited about as it relates to Sage Intacct is where we're going to get to go in the future. Mm-hmm. Because of the way that it's built, we're going to be able to basically take our whole program methodology and the way that we're set up and be able to bring all of our statistical data in on top of the financial data now. Mm. And so we were thrilled with the way that, Sage Intacct does reporting and reports across dimensions and projects and accounts and all those kinds of things. But to be able to overlay all the statistical data from the life change that's happening, from the emergency relief, from the businesses that we're helping to get started in the Middle East, and the way that we're actually changing the trajectory of people's lives and getting to be a part of that, to be able to tell that story through an accounting platform is extremely exciting. Most people think of accounting as just, well, it's numbers and it's black and white, but when you start to be able to bring in all this statistical data, now you've got a story to tell. You've got something that's much deeper than just the numbers.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, from an operational standpoint, are there things that you weren't able to do before Sage Intacct that now you're up and running and you're cranking on?
Gosh, there's several of those things. One of them is just visibility to, so a great example is we have an annual meeting that we do every year. And at this annual meeting, one of the things that we've got costs, from all over the place that need to be reported against different dimensions. That kind of stuff was basically not worth our time to try and go back and actually do all of that previously. And now, because of the way that Sage Intacct is set up, like, it doesn't take a whole lot of work to actually be able to report against those different, those different internal allocations, the different, billing and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And are your employees, are they freed up to do more? Are they saving a lot of time through the use of Sage Intacct? Yeah,
that's a great question. There's a couple of points that I'd like to make as it relates to employees. One, the organization, part of this implementation has helped the organization to really grow. And one of the ways that it's helped us to grow is that we've been able to, when we had 16,000 donations come through in a 24-hour period, that's, if you're having to do manual journal entries for 16,000 transactions, that's actually 32,000 journal entries and, all this kind of stuff, like, that's a certain kind of manpower that takes. And this solution has allowed us to not have to hire that kind of manpower, but it's given us the ability to hire, more programmatic manpower that's actually helping us achieve our mission more so than, having to hire more, staff accountants or whatever to be able to deal with some of these influxes in this volume. So that's one way, like, it's helped our staff to grow in the most healthy way possible.
Yeah.
The other way is the amount of time that we save compared to the way that it was prior to the implementation is just tremendous. I don't even know how to put, words to it, but things like, we're literally talking about shaving multiple hours a day off of things that we used to have to do because of the way that the system was set up. And so now it's actually allowed us to pour, even our accountants are getting, and our finance team actually gets to pour back into the mission of the organization. So they're looking for ways, how can we, with the different organizations that we partner with in the Middle East, how can we pour back into those organizations with what we've got built? How can we help provide better financials or better statistical data for those partners to help bring them along, to help, raise their profiles in the countries where they operate, all those kinds of things. And so we're actually seeing, now our finance team is actually contributing to the core mission of the organization, not just from a bookkeeping perspective, but actually like helping to take part in life change for other people too.
Yeah, it's just incredible when you think about, you've been talking about it, but this idea that people in the back office and the technology, that it's not on your website, it's not what you're talking about with donors and fundraisers at fundraising events, but that's having such a huge impact on things that are happening around the world.
I think it's one of the things, people that are in nonprofit work, they're going to understand this like intuitively, but people outside of nonprofit work may not understand it. A lot of people are like, they want to know about your overhead and they want to know like, where's my donation going and all these kinds of things. And one of the things that we constantly talk about internally is that paperwork saves lives too.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we, none of the work serving people and helping them get back on their feet, bringing emergency food and supplies to people that are fleeing the front lines of this conflict. None of that happens without great financial management, without great donor management on the back end. And so the paperwork saves lives too.
Yeah, absolutely. And through this process, getting to this point where paperwork is saving lives, you mentioned before the partnerships, but particularly as a not-for-profit, what is the partnerships that you've developed with Venn and Act 2 and Sage Intacct and Salesforce? And what has that all meant to Preemptive Love Coalition?
I think I said this a little bit earlier, but the fact that we found the right partners has just been absolutely huge for us. And part of the thing that I think is unique about both Act 2 and Vin Technology is that they understood kind of on a heart level what it was that we were trying to achieve. They understood what it was that we were trying to affect in the Middle East. They understand all of the nuance. They took the time to get educated about what we do, and that made those partnerships that much more valuable, because now it's actually a relationship that we have with people. It's not just this financial transaction, we give you this and you give us that kind of thing. This is an actual relationship that we've built, and so we can pick up the phone, we can make those phone calls, we can send emails and get immediate responses. And I just can't speak highly enough about how important the partnership aspect of this. If you're not an expert on one of these platforms, you need an implementation partner that can really help you do it well.
Yeah, we talk about technology all the time, but at the heart of it, it's a people business that we're in.
That's right.